Welcome, everybody. Small Business Stacey here with another episode of Small Business Interview Success. Today, I have two special guests with me. I have Emily Soccorsy and Justin Foster from Root River. Hi, I'm Small Business Stacey.
I'm Digital Dave.
Where marketing
meets technology.
Root River helps companies get to the root, pun intended, of their brand so they can be an authentic monument to all they believe. Welcome to the show, Justin and Emily.
Thank you for having us, Stacey.
Okay, so Emily, let's start with you. What is your backstory? And tell a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I grew up in the desert of Arizona, and family is originally from the Midwest. I started my career in journalism, and during the 8.5 years that I was a journalist, I really learned the foundation and the beauty and the magic of storytelling and getting inside of people's stories and understanding them and then relating them and sparking conversations. And the importance, too, of sort of a core idea that really holds a story together. And after I finished with journalism, I went on to do PR, corporate communications, and marketing, and had this great mix of a variety of different experiences. And then I was working in-house as the VP of corporate communication for a human behavioral research company. And really sort of everything that I had begun in journalism kept bubbling back up. And I would see companies just really struggling to articulate who they are. At the surface level, they were doing that, Stacey. They were telling people, what they did, but there was this deeper, soulful, spiritual truth about the company that was really nestled deeply in the heart of the leadership that was not being articulated. And it was at this point of frustration and concern over this that I met Justin. And he kind of enters my story there, and together we have this meeting of the minds, but I'll let him pick it up from there.
All right, Justin, how about you?
Yeah, a couple of key highlights, I suppose, of my time on this planet. As I grew up on a cattle ranch in Eastern Oregon. So my cheesy dad joke is I've been in branding my whole life.
Oh, good.
Exactly. So, but growing up on a ranch was a great privilege and really taught me work ethic and entrepreneurism and a lot of things. And I knew very early on in life I was going to be an entrepreneur. And after about a 8-year career in corporate sales, technology sales, including working my way up to the VP of sales position in a couple of companies, I started on my own with self-employment way back in 2003, way before all of these trends now that marketers and branders, where you go out and you talk about social and you talk about culture and you talk about brand even. So things like brand and social and culture all meant different things 15, 17 years ago. And as Em said, we met 5.5, almost 6 years ago at a conference. And we like to say it was a little bit maybe like when McCartney met Lennon. There was just like instant creative energy. And she was a client of mine for a little bit. And then I asked if she'd like to do a project with me with a new client I had. And she said, sure. And then we're like, that was fun. Let's make a company. And so, yeah, we've been at this together officially 4 years, but really 5 years.
Congratulations. All right, so now we know about the professional you, but my audience really wants to know about the real you. All right, so we'll start with Justin. Let's say you're walking or working out. Would you rather listen to music or podcasts?
It depends. If I'm walking, I'll listen to nothing. So I like the walking
in nature, huh?
Yeah, the walking meditation model, which is a fairly new practice for me, but I find it to be very replenishing. In the gym, if I'm doing light workouts, I'll listen to podcasts. If I'm doing like heavy day, if it's like a powerlifting, I'll listen to music.
There you go. So all around, little of everything.
Situational.
All right.
I will say sometimes when I'm doing powerlifting, I do listen to Jocko Willink. I don't know if you know Jocko, but he's a former that has the Jocko podcast. And that's just, it's very motivating to listen to him. So sometimes I do that instead of music, but generally music.
Okay, well, another one to add to my list. Thanks for the recommendation. All right, trick question for you, Emily. Couch or recliner?
Couch. For
Oh,
sure.
easy answer for you, huh?
So easy. Yeah. Love me some couch because I can spread out. And if I'm just hanging there for a while, I got my books, I got papers, I got my sketch pad next to me, and there's just plenty of real estate. Yeah.
All right, love it. Well, one more for each of you. Justin, nice car or nice house?
I'll go with nice truck.
Okay. I'm a truck person myself, actually.
I don't have one because I live in a walkable community, but that would be my answer. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And Emily, bringing it home, coffee cup or thermos?
Tea thermos if I'm going to be out and about because I'm a super slow drinker. It takes me a while to drink a cup of anything.
Uh-huh.
So I love when it's super hot, but I live in Arizona, so usually it's super cold, at least this time of the year.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, let's get into business here. We're talking about branding today. And I think, the name of your company, Root River, is very interesting. Is one of you known as Root and one of you known as River? You probably get asked that a lot, right?
Yeah, it depends on the day. So it's Root and River.
Root and River.
Between our names, but it's a collective name, and it really symbolizes our belief. We believe that every great brand is a spiritual experience, but in order to really uncover and articulate that experience, what it's made up of, what stardust exists therein, you have to get into the root system and articulate and know that root system and make that a part of your everyday practice of branding. And once you get into the roots, eventually the root system actually goes deep enough where it taps into a water level, which is an interior river. And whether it's the water table underneath the ground and that's feeding the roots, or it's a river that's running nearby, when you have that root system established, your marketing, your business development, your culture, it runs more organically like a river out to the market. And that's really what the name symbolizes for us. It's altogether, we call this practice of branding intrinsic branding. So it goes from the inside out.
I love that because small business owners, when they think of branding, they're thinking, oh, that's my logo, right? That's my brand, right? Justin, what would you say to that?
Well, they're partially right. I mean, that still matters. Visual still matters, but it's only 1/3 of what a brand is. In order for a brand to be a spiritual experience, yes, it needs to have visual appeal. But it needs two other things too. It needs a mission. It needs a reason for existing, or what Simon Sinek refers to as a why. We take it deeper to this idea that if you're called to be an entrepreneur or a small business owner, you're an artist, and all artists are called to something. And so even if on the surface you don't know what your mission is, or you think you have a mission for your business and it's a mission statement, which is a good starting point, that's the second piece that you need in order to be have a deep and authentic brand. And the third one is you have to have a message that speaks to the soul of your audience. In order to speak to the soul of your audience, you got to know your own soul. And a lot of the work that we do is inner work first. It's going in and like, well, what do I believe in, and what is important to me, and what are my talents? Especially when we're working with small business owners, where your brand and your business and your life, it's all integrated. Sometimes it's messily integrated, but it's all integrated. And so when you get those three things humming, and then what happens is that it becomes what our definition of a brand. A brand is how other people experience what you feel, what you believe, how other people experience what you believe. And it's, as Em said, it's organic, it's natural, it's like a flywheel, or the laws of physics kick in, of inertia and force and symmetry.
That's a great way to explain it. And, small business owners, really, they are a story, whether you're starting in your garage or this amazing idea. I mean, even the big businesses all started as small business. And so I found a statement that you had on your website, very insightful. It said, brand is a verb, not a noun. So I would love to hear your insights on that.
Right. So building on what you said, Stacey, like a lot of small business owners, they think, oh, I have a logo, I'm done with branding.
Right.
We would say that's not, it's just a piece of what you are. And so people think, oh, I've checked that box, right? I've got my brand. I send out my newsletter once a week, or once a month. It's done. And what we try to infuse into people's understanding is that branding is a practice. So brands begin in conversations, which you have ongoing. Like, please keep having conversations as a small business owner. You have to have that. But brand should be infused into everything, and it should be an ongoing practice rather than a moment in time or a to-do on your list of things. And I think a lot of times people may work at a mission, or they may do some inner work about who they are as a business owner, but most often they do not translate that into how they're expressing their brand in everyday conversations. They don't say, you know what, our mission here is to do this. For Root and River, our mission is to inspire leaders to go inward. And we use that mission in conversations, whether it's business development, it's partnership opportunities, it's potential clients, because it's true, it's real, it powers us, it moves us, and it's something that we do regularly. And we encourage business owners to think of branding in that dynamic way.
Yeah, that can be really hard because, small business owners I talk to, when they approach me to start working with them, you ask them to tell about yourself and they're like so proud. It's the chest beating, and they put this on their website. We've been in business since 1492. Now, is that how you tell a brand story? Justin,
No.
What do you think about that?
No, yes, there's some level of longevity or the chest beating. But these are old. This is kind of an old world mindset. I think there are three realities that small business owners find themselves in that maybe they're not aware of. One is that their talent is a commodity now. Whether you're a plumber or a marketing expert or a dentist, whatever your talent is, there's a lot of places to buy it, which means that nobody's sitting around waiting to hear from you. That's number one. Number two is, another reality is how you market is more important than what you market. So we call it the marketing golden rule, which is just don't market to other people like you wouldn't want to be marketed to. And then the third reality of this is sameness is the enemy. Now, if you come from the old world, and we would say that the old world really ended about 2005. We still see remnants and shadows of it, especially in large companies. But even they get it. Even they know that there's this massive shift happening. They have that old world mindset of longevity, sameness. We're like everyone else. We're solid. Nobody cares. Nobody cares except for the elderly. And so that's why we believe so strongly, Stacey, in this idea that if you establish the root system of your brand, which we would say your root system are your beliefs, your standards, and your mission and your message. It's kind of the four strands of a brand. Mm-hmm. Then when they work with someone that's a marketing implementer or a marketing tactician, those can evolve. So maybe lead magnets and ClickFunnels will work for a couple of years and they can switch to something else and something else. But if you organize your brand around your marketing tactics, you're waiting to be made obsolete, because the tactics, as you know, and what you do, the tactics shift frequently.
No, that's a great point, because I was actually just reading something where there really is no new information out there. Everybody's a commodity, right? It's how you put your spin on it that makes you different. People, and I've heard you guys say this, and I say it as well, all business is H to H, human to human, right?
Correct. Yes.
There is no B2B, no B2C, all business is H to H. So where then can a small business owner start in trying to figure out, one, what is their brand? And two, how do they start telling their story? How do they be something for someone?
So two things. First, they have to remove the idea of separateness. And this is huge. We kind of touched on it at the beginning of the show, give us your professional story and now who's the real you? Well, in reality, we're all part of this same whole human, right? And it's all integrated and messy. But we, as human beings, we're trying to organize this. So we put up a lot of barriers between my business self and my real self. But they're fake. They're not real. These silos don't truly exist. So first thing is to give yourself permission to knock down that wall. So who you are as a person and what you are placed on this earth to do as a human being is the same or is very deeply connected to what you're doing in your business. And some people are like, well, wait, I own a chocolate shop. I'm running a business. That's just what I'm doing. Again, stop for a second, just give yourself air and room and space to maybe say, maybe this chocolate shop is an iteration of something that I am deeply committed to at a soulful level. So that's the first thing. So let those barriers down a little bit. The second thing that I would say start with mission. It's a good place to begin. And we're not looking for a mission statement here, which is a boring run-on sentence that you try to cram too many ideas into. Our definition of mission is what you are here to do that only you can do. And that means you, with your education, with your background, with the time in which you live, the place in which you live, the passion that you have for whatever it is. It's the thing that you're here to do that only you can do. It's usually something very simple, 3 to 6 words typically, and just like ours, to inspire leaders to go inward. Once you find it, it serves as a true north, and it's connected both to your soul and what you do in your personal life and what you do in your professional life. And the reason this is so important is something I mentioned earlier. It becomes, when you uncover it, a source of eternal energy and focus for you. So you can balance opportunities off of it, even growth. You can gauge against, is this really serving the mission or not? It also opens up other creative ways of expressing yourself and your brand. So 2 good places to start.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious because let's see how it is. You've given a lot of great information, technical theory, I think people now get what a brand is and to not be a commodity. But do you have an example you could share, let's say, of a small business or somebody that you've worked with sort of in the before state, and then now how working with you has really helped clarify their brand?
Absolutely. Jess, do you want to talk about maybe Mike Stories Alive? That's who jumps to mind.
Right. So we have a client here in Austin. I live in Austin. M's in Scottsdale. And his name is Michael Krent. He has a killer TED Talk. If you go to the TED YouTube page, Mike is like an old furniture guy. But 12 years ago, he had this passion project to start capturing the stories of the patriarchs and matriarchs of families, especially family business and family businesses. And it turned into a nice business for him. Mike is pretty typical of everyone that comes to us. He's a wonderful human being to start with, just as a general, the type of person that you'd want by your side in a foxhole in combat type of person. The second thing that Mike had was that he had a great product. His work was excellent. We find that with any client that comes to us. So they generally are good people that do great work. But the third thing is the thing that he did not know how to articulate what made him different. And so we took him through our process.
I add here real quickly, and this is typical of our clients, since they don't know what makes them different, they're always trying to market on their products and their services. And then they get into the commodity game where they're like, should I slash my rate? Should I offer this special? And they're just chasing their tails. And that's kind of what he had been doing, and was really unable to raise the value of what he wanted to charge, and just wasn't getting there because he had no messaging infrastructure.
Right. And so the kind of before and after with his company, Life Stories Alive, is that his brand became the feeling and the promise and the story that was uncovered in our process with him, what we call a root session, which is this day-long immersion that's part like boot camp, part therapy. And in that, he uncovered what we call a root belief. So a root belief kind of springs from the seed of mission. And the root belief then is your story. It's your one-sentence story that everything else springs from. And so his root belief was, I believe people die, stories don't, but stories don't have to.
Hmm.
And which is very provocative, when you're talking, because Americans in particular don't like talking about death. And so he was like, he knew it was right, but he was a little scared or a little nervous to share it. But he started sharing it, and then he got invited to give a TED talk, and that was his opening line. And now he speaks around the country about this idea that people die, but you might die, you're going to die, but your story doesn't have to. And it's no more about videography and documentarian practices and all that. I mean, that's all part of what his business model is. But his story is his root belief lived out again and again and again with each experience with him, even if you never become a client of his.
So on a practical level, he was able to raise the visibility of his brand. He was able to raise his prices, and he was able to engage in different conversations. So no more was he sending out emails into the black hole, but people started responding because the messaging was so crisp and consistent across the website and across his other content.
It probably made him feel better too about, the mission of what he does. Now he's kind of had some clarity around it. Right?
Yeah, people do want clarity, but really underneath that, they say clarity. What they mean really is confidence. Because, a lot of our clients have been in business for more than 5 years. I mean, we do work with some startups, but most of our clients have been in business 5 to 20 years. Mm-hmm. And they've had this carried around this kind of deep-seated insecurity about how to talk about their brand in a way that wasn't chest pounding, that was confident. And when you find this place that your brand and your mission are basically the same thing, and then you have the words to use, it's like one of these kids that goes on those shows and does a makeover so they can ask a girl out in high school. They find out that they have worth and value, and they don't have to struggle with this anymore. And that burst of confidence stays with you forever and ever and ever, because it's coming from a source of basically endless energy, which is inspiration. That's where it's coming from. When inspiration meets conviction, you build a brand.
Oh, love it. Okay, so a small business owner, they want to start getting clarity or confidence, as you call it. And you had sort of said, well, here's where you start. You start with the statement, I believe, ... Is that where they should start? Or is there a next step? Like, if small business owner is really excited after listening to this, where do they start?
Definitely you start with that mission question. What are you here to do that only you can do? Next, if you want to start trying to find that message, yes. And here's another question, because questions kind of help. Sometimes that sentence, the fill in the blank, is really tough to get at. So for message is, what does your heart have to say to the world? And what is it that you believe in so deeply that you would get arrested for it? Ooh. And another one would be, what have you always known to be true and lived your life accordingly? But maybe, and also on that one, is something that nobody ever taught you. So those are questions that if you sit down and journal, or, set aside time to really maybe get out of the office one day, take these questions with you, go somewhere that you find inspiring, and just write on those. And then look at how any of those might be an I believe statement.
I think another area to dig into is a starting point. And these are kind of sequential, one leading to the other as far as discovery, because it's all inside of you. We're not prescriptive. Every brand is different. There's no formula. There's a methodology, but that methodology is ancient. It's a contemplative practice, essentially, to go inward. But you have to know what makes you different. That's again, we use this phrase a lot, but humility is a wonderful and necessary leadership trait, but it's a terrible strategy. And so you have to know what makes you different, and not different in a sort of shiny, puffery sort of way, but for real, what makes you different. And the second the second thing is, you're going to have to deal with what Stephen Pressfield calls the resistance, which is that inner fear to not speak the full truth. Mm. So in that exercise of finding your message, we say, go to the over the edge when you're imagining. Go over the edge. Don't start wordsmithing to make it nice. Say what you really want to say, or sometimes we say it after 2 shots of tequila.
Right.
People want the truth. They do want the truth. And your story, the resonance, that authenticity that people crave, comes from telling the truth from the very beginning of your brand. And so it's a fun thing to do, is, maybe sit down with a couple of shots of tequila and go, what do I really want to say? We would also say, in your private time, you can be negative. You can be like, I want to kick the ass of my competitor because they're blah, blah. You could do, now, we don't recommend you ever go negative with your brand, but anger or righteous indignation is still a good starting point for an emotion, because that's what you're trying to get to, is what do you really feel?
If you get to that angry place, you can just say, why does that make me so angry? Why does what my competitor does make me so angry? And follow that trail, because there's a lot of gold there usually about something that's maybe more important to you, more at the soul level or the belief level that they are violating.
Now, that's a good point, because I know that's true by taking the antagonist route, by being angry. I'm positioning myself as the small business champion. And I will tell you, it really pisses me off that Small Business Saturday is only one Saturday a year after Black Friday, sponsored by American Express, the antithesis of small business. So you can, I guess, be an antagonist, right? And still have a good brand.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as long as you're elevating on the way and you're not staying in that negativity, it's a great place to start.
And branding is an art. Like we said, it's a practice, it's an art, and all art offends. That's how you know it's art. And we've been trained, especially Gen Xers and boomers, we've been trained to make nice with everyone. You don't have to do that. Patagonia isn't doing that. Nike's not doing that. Chick-fil-A's not doing that. They're taking a stand for what they believe, and they're organizing their brand around their belief systems. And that's why we often say that the number one ingredient for becoming a brand is courage. You got to be willing to be the antagonist, to be the provocateur in an authentic way, not in a, flame-throwing, hubris-laden sort of way, but for real, because that's often how truth is delivered. You got to be willing to be, as one of our clients calls it, you got to be willing to be a heretic.
Mm.
So where the masses will want to tell you that you can't do it that way, but all innovation comes from people going, well, I'm going to do it this way, and then being very stubborn about that.
Well, I guess, a small business owner can approach this process in two ways. They can do it themselves, and you've given a lot of great strategies of where to start and how to do it. And then there's obviously the faster, more efficient way, working with somebody, outside who's a specialist. So, what is it like in work? You help companies obviously get clear on who they are, who they want to be, how to, bring that to life. When somebody works with an outside provider, what should they be looking for in that type of company who can help them get clarity on this?
That's a great question. So just energetic match. I know that sounds a little bit whimsical, but it's really important. You want to make sure that the people who you're working with are energy positive for you. Now, you don't want to go too far over the edge where somebody who is not going to challenge you, because what we find in doing this work is that you need to kind of break through what people think they know. And we oftentimes, one of our agreements with our clients is we all agree to have a beginner's mind about one another's work and to challenge things and to test things. And so you want somebody who you feel is a positive force, but also who can be a good critic for you. We also believe that you do have all the answers inside of you. So we're not prescriptive. We don't come up with a, punchy tagline for you to use. We are in a process of excavation with you. And so whether or not, that's appealing to you is fine. It's up to you. There are people who will come in and prescribe and then go off and then execute for you. And then there are also people like us who will guide you, will uncover, will articulate, and then coach. And you have to be clear on what you want. If you want just somebody to come in and fix it, tell you what to do, that's fine. Just be clear on that and ask questions around that. And then finally, I think another question to ask is, what does it look like at the end of the engagement? And how will my conversations be changed? How will my culture be changed? And how will we have communicated this reinvigorated brand? So those are three really important things. I'll highlight conversations because, again, brands begin in conversations. And if you're not working with somebody who can give you language, who can work with you to uncover the language that you can use in business development, as well as in marketing, in partnerships, as well as on social media, then you're probably creating, again, like different silos of your business. And it's going to be very hard to manage.
those are great. A couple just to add to that. One is picking up on the formula part that Em talked about, which is, be aware, be cautious of people with formulas, because what happens is sameness ensues, and sameness is the enemy of brand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not all formulas encourage sameness, but enough of them do that it's something where you want to show, if you're going to work with someone, you want to make sure that they have a very diverse client mix of all different sizes and industries and phase of business. The second is you want to work, this is my opinion, I'm not saying it's our opinion, but it's certainly my opinion. You want to work with someone that doesn't hate capitalism, that does understand business.
Yes.
And a lot of people in our space, a lot of branding people and I see this sort of half jokingly, are raging socialists. They don't understand the business side of it. They view the business side of it as sort of icky. And so you want someone that's a business person that knows branding and marketing, not just a branding person that doesn't know anything about business. And it'll be a night and day difference on how they help you see your business, because they will see the engines of commerce turning, not just for their benefit, for their business model, but for yours, and integrating that into integrating everything so that the brand and the business model and the lifestyle, which are basically the three big things of being a small business owner, that those are fully integrated.
Well, Justin, I'm so glad you sort of alluded to it's branding plus marketing. And so I know, like, a question my audience always likes me to ask is, when it comes to marketing, because you guys are on the branding side, what's working? What's working in marketing for your business?
Storytelling is working. Also peeling back the curtain to show people what's going on culturally inside of the business is always working for us. And then asking great questions. Honestly, that doesn't sound like a marketing strategy, but really is how you choose to do that, whether that's on social or in emails or in direct conversations. But understanding what are the questions that you can ask to your market to understand two things: how to improve your business, and then how to tailor your the whole experience of the brand to them.
Yeah, and I would say that the other things that we see are working are anything involving relationships. You can call it influence building. So not working with influencers, even though that's sort of what we're talking about, but actually building real relationships. It goes back to being energy positive. And so what we teach our clients is that everyone you meet, whether if it's somebody sitting next to you on an airplane, the Lyft driver, who knows, everyone you meet is either a prospect or an influencer until they prove you otherwise. And that keeps your mind open, and it understands that you as the owner are the primary vessel of the brand. You are the marketing tactic that works the best. Number two is using social as an engagement platform, not a promotional platform. So using it to say, hey, here, what do you think? Like, kind of like Em said about peeling back the curtain. Use it as like a reality show, not a infomercial. And then the third is to really hone into the minutia of your human experience. So the experience of onboarding a new employee should be given the same weight as the experience of onboarding a new customer. And so in that, we believe in these little small feedback loops. And feedback loops are marketing. They're just touch points where someone gets to tell you how they feel, that's what marketing is. Some of our clients, the stuff like with ClickFunnels or Facebook Pixel or the Facebook Pixel or lead magnets and tripwires and all that. Some of that works for some of our clients. But most of it is just, and I'll toss it over to Emily for this, it's not rocket science. There's a formula for it. This is the one formula that we do preach.
We just often say, Stacey, that marketing is not rocket science. It's clarity of message delivered consistently over time. And so those are the ingredients. If you can deliver this message over time in a very clear and consistent way, and it's an emotional message, it's an unexpected message, and it's something that's very simple as well. Those three things, you're going to be fine. Just keep the consistency at the center.
Okay, I think that those are great closing words. Clarity, consistency, always staying front of mind. Because in my book, Small Business Marketing Made Easy, I talk about, I have an action system, and the T is for transactions, which are touch points, because people buy when they're ready to buy, not when you're ready to sell to them. And so you very clearly articulated why and how you can use your brand to tell your story and build those relationships along the way. So in closing out today's session, any parting words for the small business owner?
Yes, just thank you for being a small business owner. We both are small business owners. We know how difficult and trying it can be. And also, just know that we're here for you as a resource. We have a very open door policy at Root and River. Happy to answer questions via social media or through our website. And it always begins with a conversation. And if it's small, if it's a big query, whatever it is, we're open and available to you.
And mine, Stacey, would be to our fellow entrepreneurs is practice self-care. Put yourself on the calendar. Go to yoga, go to therapy, go to church, go whatever you need to do in order to be a whole person, because nothing clouds your business and your judgment like fatigue or other issues that can creep in. And we as small business owners, especially if you're a parent too, we have a lot of output and very little input. And that's because nobody's coming to us and giving us input other than their opinion. So you have to be your own resource for input of energy. And even if that's, 5 minutes of silence a day where you just sit and not do anything. But self-care will transform your brand if you practice it.
Those are good closing words. I know my audience is going to want to reach out and learn more about each of you. Can you sort of share how they can do that?
Absolutely. So we invite everybody to come visit us at rootandriver.com. Sign up for an amazing newsletter there. And you can also reach me on social media. Well, you can reach Root and River at Root and River. Me personally, I'm at Emily at Large.
And I'm at Foster Thinking on all the platforms. We're friends now, so you can friend me on Facebook if you want, or LinkedIn, where both of us are pretty findable. And then I would say if you go to our website, and there's two things we would like you to click on. These are two specific calls to action here. One is to click on our warning label. It's a great model for how to offend, if that's what your strategy is. And number two is to check out our Brand Lab page. Our Brand Labs are these immersive experiences where we really hone in a lab environment and a group environment on elements of the brand. And we're super excited. In fact, Stacey, you're one of the first people to know about this, is we have an all-day brand lab in Scottsdale, Arizona on Friday, October 4th.
Okay.
Information on that. And Scottsdale's lovely in October. So even if you're not in the area, it's a good time to visit.
Great. Well, Emily, Justin, thank you for coming on with me today, sharing your brilliance with my audience. I know that the information you've shared today is really going to help small business owners and entrepreneurs really get clarity on who they are, who they serve, and how to tell their story. All right, everybody, this is a wrap. This is Small Business Stacey, your Get It Done marketing specialist, here to help you get your marketing into action so that you can say #marketing done. Bye-bye, everybody.
This podcast was brought to you by Small Business Stacey, the small biz marketing specialist. Want to know the 6 simple steps that will double, even triple your business in the next 30 days? Go to smallbizmarketingspecialist.com/transform and finally achieve the successful and profitable business you always knew you'd have. That's smallbizmarketingspecialist.com/transform.